Hello, everyone. Again, this is Antonio, and I'm coming at you with another exciting video. Okay. All right. In this video, we want to bring on Coach Starr. I've been knowing Coach Starr since high school. And then, can you hear
Not
me,
that
Coach
long
Starr?
ago.
Unmute yourself. Let's see.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
yes.
You can hear me?
you.
I can't hear you, though.
Okay. What am I supposed to
Okay.
do?
You know what? Let me get my headphones. One moment.
What am
Can you
I
hear me?
supposed to? Yes.
Okay. I still can't hear you, though. Let's
It
see
doesn't say
here.
I'm mute. I'm not.
Okay. What about now?
Yes, I can hear you. The host says
Okay,
unmute
I
mic.
still can't hear you. Did you touch? Okay, unmute yourself. I think you muted. All right. Can you hear me at all? Can you test your mic? Okay, one moment. All right.
I sent you a message.
All right. You test your mic over on where it says the mic over here on the left. Okay, what about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
You
I
say
can
you
hear
unmuted
you.
yourself? You can
I
hear
can
me.
Yeah.
Okay, but I can't hear you. Let's see what's going on. Okay, test. Okay. All right, so Coach Starr is having issues with a mic for a second, but let me go ahead and introduce Coach Starr. We can go ahead and get this going. We're talking about financial freedom, financial growth, and okay, but I can't say something. I can't hear you though.
Hola.
Okay, we're having a little issues here. All right, let's see something here.
Let me stop the mic and then start it again. Eddie.
What about now? No, it's you muted. Okay. All right, Coach Starr, I'll be right back. All right, so let's talk about Coach Starr. And Coach Starr is an author, financial life coach, entrepreneur. She's a philanthropist, scientist, global citizen. Uh, she loves to speak about financial growth, financial freedom. And without further ado, we want her to come on and talk about some of her I'll let her talk about her journeys of becoming financial free. She paid off $33,000 in debt. She raised a credit score from 600 to 750. She saved over $20,000 in a year, and she fired her boss. All right, at the age of 35, she became debt free, fired her boss, began traveling the world. The key to my success and financial freedom is living a financially independent lifestyle. So let's go ahead and let's hear her tell her story on her end, and let's get going.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm super excited. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you, but keep going. They say they can hear you though.
Oh, they can hear me. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, they can hear you.
Awesome. I'm super excited to be here on your platform, sharing my story of financial freedom. Like I always tell people, my favorite quote is, the best thing money can buy is financial freedom. So it was with increased financial literacy and financial freedom, I was able to go from just surviving to thriving. Now I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So what made you want to say that you wanted to become debt free? Was it something that you had an epiphany one day, or you just felt that you was living paycheck to paycheck and you wanted to try something different?
Yes, all the above. All the above. So I was caught up in the rat race. I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I was just essentially sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so I had bought into the American dream of, go to school, get a degree, get a job, get a husband, the house, the dog, the 2.5 kids, and the picket fence. I bought into the American dream. I woke up one day to the American nightmare. I was caught in this vicious cycle of working more, spending more debt, work more to pay off debt, and was not really enjoying life. And the pivotal moment for me, the turning point in my life, the huge life event that occurred for me was I got divorced. Divorce happens, unfortunately. And so I went from a 2-income household to a 1-income household, yet I still had 2-income bills. And so I was struggling. And I woke up one day, I was like, this can't be life. And so I literally picked up a book, a personal finance book, just like my book, Live Freely, Freedom to Work, Whenever, Wherever. And that is what started my personal finance and financial freedom journey. You're muted. Okay, there you go.
Okay, so that's an amazing story. And actually, I remember when you got married, when we were at Armstrong.
Yeah.
I think it was like our second or third year of college. You end up, were you going to school for a respiratory therapist at the time, or you was going to be a scientist?
I was pre-med biology major. And so I got my bachelor's in science and biology. And then I went back and got my post-bachelor's degree in medical technology. And that's when I became a scientist. So I got 2 degrees during that time period. And then got married while still in college and raising kids and working. So yeah, it was definitely a journey. And, it's one, because a lot of us, we have these goals. I always tell people it's important that you have goals. It's important that you have a mission and vision for your life. And that's why it's also important to plan, not just your personal life, but also your finances, also your mental state, also your spiritual state. It's important to have a plan. I had no plan for my money. Even when I was married, I knew a little bit about budgeting, but not really a lot about saving. It just was about, paying bills and working. And I thought we had arrived with just that. But I never thought about the future beyond graduating, getting a job, I didn't think beyond that. So I didn't think or come up with a way to actually figure out how to make my money work for me and to save money and have an emergency fund. I did not think of those things because I was so caught up in just the regular hustle and bustle of life. I wasn't thinking about long-term and future and generational wealth. That never crossed my mind until I was forced to think about it and put in a position to figure out, okay, what's next?
Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. So you had your divorce, unfortunately, and now you started a new journey. And let's talk, because a lot of people won't want to hear about this when they re-listen to this, of the ways that you went and you started this financial journey. What was the book that you read? And just talk about what did you take from the book to change your mind of this journey of financial freedom. And now that you teach financial freedom, we got to start from the beginning so people can learn how you started this journey. So I'm gonna unmute myself and let you speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head when you said what changed my mind. Because growing up in Savannah, or just my upbringing, or just my formal education, we were not taught about money. We were not taught about investing in the stock market. We weren't taught about saving. So I had no resource or reference to go back to when it came to money, because again, we were just surviving. And it was my understanding just from just family members and friends, like my mindset was you're always gonna have debt. Like debt was a part of life. That's just how life is, right? So I kind of ran with that until literally I was at work one day, just again being sick and tired of being sick and tired, not really having an idea, a clue, but just know this can't be it. And a friend of mine, we was watching this TV show, and the guy on the TV said that he was debt free, and I just laughed. I chuckled. I was like, "That's not possible. That's not even a thing, right?" And she was like, "No, that you can be debt free. You can not. It's possible for you to not be living paycheck to paycheck." And so that moment, it was a pivotal moment because it changed my perspective. And she told me her parents were debt free, and they had read the book Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And so for me, when she told me that, even in that moment, I thought it was a scam. I was like, what is he selling? He's trying to get something out of somebody. I don't believe in this. So much so that I wouldn't even buy the book. I literally went to the library and checked the book out. I was like, he's not gonna get my money. And that book literally changed my entire life, and not just my life. It changed my family tree, right? So in that book, he talked about having a plan to get out of debt. And I followed every step in that book to get out of debt. I listened to his radio show every single day in my journey because it literally took me 36 months to get out of debt. But reading that book, after I read that book and I was inspired from other people's story, because our stories matters. And that's what empowered me to tell my story and share my story, because our stories matter. Representation matters. When you see someone look like you, talk like you, that you can connect with, and you see them have a dream and you see them accomplish that dream, that then should inspire you to say, oh, I can do that too. So from that moment of reading the book, and 3 years later, I embarked on this journey where I went in. I had a goal and I implemented that goal, and I executed beautifully. I executed and established that goal after 3 years. It was not easy, but it was worth every step, every day, every teardrop that I had, because I literally was working 2 jobs, sometimes 60 to 70 hours a week, to be able to get out of debt. But I lived like no one else, so I can live like no one else, because I literally, to this right now, I work whenever I want to work. I don't have to work. Working for me is optional. Living is a priority for me. So I am retired because that's essentially what retirement is. You have residual income coming in, right? Money you don't have to work for. And then you decide if you want to work or not. But from reading that book, from that small conversation in the break room at my job till now, because that was like almost 10 years ago, I embarked on this journey. I am actually to a place where my money is working for me, and I don't have to be caught up in the rat race working for my money. And I have more time and freedom to live freely, to do the things I love, which is to travel and spend time with my grandbaby, and then just live my life and share my story. Because ultimately, live freely is about giving freely.
So we got a question. And thank you for the super chat. The question that they have is, do you wait before you are debt free before you start a business? So can you spawn upon that, please?
Should you wait? What did he say now? He said, should you wait to become debt free to start a business?
No, the question was, do you wait before you are debt free before you start your business?
You don't have to. Obviously, debt is a burden. Debt impacts your spending, your time, because obviously, if you have debt, you have to spend time to make money to get out of this debt. So debt is a huge burden, and it should definitely be a priority, but it doesn't mean that you can't simultaneously get out of debt and start a business. But it's about having a plan and having a money plan. So if you're in debt and you have a budget, right? You have a budget, and in a budget, you tell your money, or a cash flow plan, you tell your money where to go. So in that budget, you can have a cash flow plan with your money that's coming in, expenses going out. You can have a debt elimination plan where you contribute so much money of your income to your debt. And then you can have a budget for your business. Obviously, you don't want to have your personal and your business budget together, but even in your personal finance, especially if you're using your personal finance to fund your business, right? This information should be in your cash flow plan. And your business income is income, and that can be, and you're paying yourself when you have a business. You could take that money and that income from that business and help you eliminate your debt sooner than later. Because there's multiple things going on when we talk about debt elimination, when we talk about financial literacy and increased financial literacy, right? So it's about having, on one end, multiple streams of income, right? That's the key to freedom: multiple streams of income, and reduce expenses or reduce spending. Save more than you spend. So these things, all these parts and all these pieces are working together for you to be able to live freely. But you got to have a plan, and you got to write it down, and you got to hold yourself accountable.
I got a friend of mine that, as a matter of fact, the gentleman Aaron that just left a message, all he talks about was Dave Ramsey for 3 to 4 years. So Dave Ramsey was something a topic of our discussion often, and that's definitely a person that I probably need to start studying, because if you were saying Dave Ramsey help you start your journey, he's talked about living debt free before. That's terrific. Let's jump into your book, because yes, Dave Ramsey wrote books, but let's talk about your book, Live Free. And let's talk about Live Free. Let's talk about what started you to write Live Free. And let's talk and tell people where they can purchase Live Free. So let's talk about that. And I'm gonna mute myself and let you, tell your story. What made you want to start this book?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so funny. If you go to Amazon, one of my reviews, it says that Coach Starr, Sapphire Starr, is the Black Girl Magic. She's the Black Girl Magic to the Dave Ramsey Total Money Makeover, to live freely, freedom to work whenever, wherever, because that was my start. But I expounded more than just a personal finance book, because my book is a personal finance book, but it's not just a personal finance book, right? So it's a book about hope. It's a book about triumph. And more than anything else, it's about representation, because I share my story of how I grew up in the projects of Savannah, Georgia. I became a teen mom at the age of 14, and how I went from that to a globe-trotting scientist and CEO through financial independence. Financial independence was the key for me to have the freedom and have the time to be able to do the things that I love. But in that book, I talk about, again, my journey, my triumphs, my ups, my downs, how I was able to pay off my debt, how I was able to save over $20,000 in 1 year, how I was able to create passive income in the stock market, how I grew my portfolio from $100 to over 6 figures in the stock market, how I was able to fire my boss, right? Because financial freedom, it gives you confidence. Because a lot of times people are in situations or circumstances or jobs or careers they don't like, not because they want to be there, because they have to be there. But when you eliminate that component where you have to do something, that gives you so much freedom and so much power to say, I can take my skill set somewhere else, especially if you're not being treated and your skill set is not valued. You can either take it somewhere else or you can monetize your skill set. You can monetize your passion. I got this chapter in my book where I talk about a little R&R, is residual and remote income. That's the key. That's your ticket to being able to live freely. Again, multiple streams of income, ideally passive income, income that you're not working for, because you're limited when you come to working for your money. You only can work at 1 or 2 jobs, right? Your money can work infinite amount of jobs. And if you don't figure out a way to make your money work for you, you're going to work till you die. And so in my book, I share that story. I share that journey, but it's also about financial freedom and financial independence as well. Because like I said, our stories matter. Representation matters. And though I was able to connect with Dave Ramsey, I didn't have any other resource to connect with Dave Ramsey as well as Les Brown. You know, it still was a component in there where I didn't necessarily feel like that was possible for me. I'm hearing these people's story and I'm like, well, that's them. They don't look like me. Their incomes, their tax brackets, it was a little different from mine. So I'm like, can I really do this? And so that was another important thing for me to tell my story, because I know people need to hear stories. They need to be able to connect for them to be able to think something is possible for them to do. And that's why I figure I would throw my hat in the game and write a personal finance and teach financial literacy, because someone out there can connect and resonate with me, you know, in our journey. And then, you know, a whole nother issue in my mission and my vision for my business and my company that I started, Organized Chaos Finance, is to increase financial literacy, especially for Black and brown people, for minorities, as well as women, because the racial wealth gap and the gender wealth gap is significant. And it's my hope and my passion is to bridge that gap, to close in that gap, so we can go from just surviving to thriving.
Okay, so I heard you mention you started your stock journey with just $100, and then you took that journey to 6 figures. Tell the people that's listening, did you start off with blue chip, penny stocks? And because you know I love to make videos about cryptocurrency and stocks. I make a video at least once a day. I made a video today. What I made a video about today, I don't know. I make so many videos because the motto on my channel is I see the news, I report the news, because I think that it's impossible to get out of debt completely unless you got your money working for you. So let's talk about this stock market and talk about your classes, because it might be some people that want to that may see this video later, and if they see this video later, you can plug your classes, how they can start learning the journey that you took from taking that $100 to 6 figures. So I'm gonna fall back and let you speak about that.
Absolutely. So with Organized Chaos Finance, I do have several coaching services and plans where I actually partner with people, because you must be invested in your finance. You must be invested in your life. So it's not just about just fixing those things and getting information. Knowledge is not enough. And that's a chapter in my book. Knowledge is not enough. Applied knowledge is what it's going to take for you to transform your life, to transition from where you are right now to get to where you want to be. And it's all about manifest destiny. What is it that you want? What are you doing to make that happen? So for me, when I began the journey, because my thinking is a little different from yours in terms of getting out of debt and then investing, because I don't think you can fully capitalize on your gains, right? If you have debt, because we already know how investing works, right? Compound interest, right? That's one way, compound interest. But if you have debt that's accruing with 20-30% interest and you're trying to invest your money, that's going to cancel out your gains. So it's very important that you do what you can to eliminate debt, start paying yourself, and then taking that money and begin to invest to truly take advantage of your gains. But when I started investing, I always, even when you talk about cryptocurrency and all those things, I learned about cryptocurrency back in like 2009, 2000, maybe before then, maybe like I was listening to NPR and they were talking about these digital coins. And I was like, I don't know what this is, right? Just imagine if I had the knowledge that I have today, back then, I would be a millionaire, but it's not too late for us to set ourselves up to win. But I always wanted to invest. When I was living in Savannah 10, 15 years ago, I always wanted to invest. I didn't know how to get in. Also, I felt like you only saw old, rich white men in that space. So I'm just like, is it even possible to get into that space? So I'm glad you have a platform that you do, and you do share the information to individuals out there. But for me, I always want, and so I just was like, you know what? Now that I'm debt free and now I have time, I want to learn how to get into this space. So I started reading books. I started listening to podcasts. I started reading financial magazines. And I opened up a Charles Schwab account. And it was actually a free $100 because they had a promotion where if you deposit $1,000 that I just took from my emergency fund, if you deposit $1,000, they gave you $100 in 45 days. So that's an instant 10% return on my money, right? And then I started investing in weed stock because back then Canada was due to legalize marijuana federally. So that's where I got in at, and that's where I got my start. But that was just my start, right? And so I began to invest in index funds, low cost index funds. I'm a Warren Buffett fan. And he said, if you don't know what you're doing, just invest in low cost index funds, and because you can't time the market, you can't beat the market. So why not go with the fund that historically can outperform any actively managed fund like a mutual fund, right? So I started investing in index funds. And then as I got more knowledge, I got more wisdom, I started investing in cryptocurrency as well. So my portfolio, I have like an 80-20 portfolio, but I do teach that. And I do have an investing for beginners masterclass because I think it's important that you learn the language, because the worst thing you can do when it comes to investing, or the biggest risk that you can take, is not knowing what you're doing. And investing is like learning a language, a new language, right? You get the basics, you get the fundamentals, you practice it, and you implement it. Over time, you'll be investing like a pro. And so that's what I teach I have a group class, Investing for Beginners Masterclass, that I teach every Wednesday and every Saturday. And it's a small group, 2-hour class, and I teach all the basic fundamentals, all the techniques and the skills that it took me 2 years to learn and implement in my portfolio. I teach that in the group class because I wish something was like out there like what I'm offering when I was learning how to invest. So I shortened that learning curve significantly in my Investing for Beginners class. And I also offer private coaching as well for a more customized, specific experience when it comes to investing, because everybody's financial situation is different. So I offer those services as well.
Okay, so we got another question from Aaron. The question is, to save $20,000 in a year, what's the biggest sacrifice the average person will have to make? If you could spawn upon that question, because this is an experience that you teach and that you have, what's one of the biggest sacrifices you had to make? Was it food, that going out, shopping? If you could spawn upon that question, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting because I didn't see it as a sacrifice, because for me, it was a bigger picture vision, right? So the most thing I had to sacrifice though was time, because you got to keep in mind, I was already on this journey of financial freedom and financial independence. So I had already created habits for success. The key is changing your mind, changing your habits, right? So I had already created these habits to save my money. And now that I didn't have debt, I was paying myself instead of paying a debtor or a creditor. So that was income coming in. I reduced my spending, I reduced my expenses. So that created residual income. I increased my income in terms of getting a second job. So I was working 2 jobs. So increased income, no more debt, paying myself, right? And then the time to, work these 2 jobs or multiple. And nowadays, you don't even have to work 2 jobs. Like back then, we didn't have YouTube and we didn't have social media. Like social media wasn't what it is today back then when I was on my journey. So I was working 2 jobs, but nowadays there's so many ways to create like residual income, right? But the biggest thing I had to sacrifice was just my time, my time. But now I have more time than I've ever had in my life to be able to live the life that I deserve. So that little bit of time that I invested to save that money, it was minuscule when you compare it to the time and freedom I have now.
Okay. So hypothetically, if you had to take your if you had to start this journey again, and you mentioned Charles Schwab. So if the person want to enter the market, $1,000, weed stocks are not going, they volatile, they're not going the way that, because America's being stubborn. America is not how can I say it? They're not opening up the country to weed stocks like they should. So if you had to start from scratch and invest your $1,000 with very little experience, which way would you go now in the stock market?
I would go with the 80-20 portfolio. I still would invest the bulk of my portfolio in a low index S&P 500 fund that give me access to almost a total is 503. So it's 500. The S&P 500 is like 503 top companies on the New York Stock Exchange, right? So I would the total market. So I was still, that's what, $800. So I would put $800 in a low cost index fund. And then the 20%, I would take a little bit more risk. And I would still invest, because buy the rumor, sell the news, right? Even the rumor of weed being legalized, people can still profit from that rumor in the upsweep to becoming legalized, because Canada did the same thing. They went up and down, they went back and forth until they finally legalized it, right? So just even the rumor that the United States will legalize marijuana can potentially bring some gains to your portfolio. And then I have a cryptocurrency, digital money, right? So I'll take 20%, and that's where I will put it in either individual stocks. So like if you wanted to invest in Apple or Disney or Tesla, I would buy fractional shares, because we're now at $200, right? So $800 S&P 500 index. $200, I would either buy individual stocks, a company that have solid fundamentals when you do your fundamental analysis and you do your qualitative and your quantitative analysis. Again, if you don't know these terms, you can take my Investing for Beginners masterclass where I break those things down. But individual stocks, right? Weed stocks and cryptocurrency is where I would go, and renewable energy, electric vehicles. But we're at $200, so it would definitely be fractional shares of those particular things.
Okay, so that's what I remember. I did a video today on CCIV. That's a company that I definitely invested in. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of CCIV?
Yeah, this is electric vehicle space, right? You muted.
Have you heard of Share Capital, Lucid Motors?
Yes, I have. I follow Stock Up with Larry.
This morning I had to think about it. So 80-20 index funds, 80%. You're hearing what Coach Starr is saying, and breaking it down the other percentages in cryptocurrencies or weed stocks, or however you do it. So that's how she would break down her money for currently. So now let's talk about your classes, because there's going to be some people that's going to be very intrigued. They may watch this video, and I want you to definitely plug your website. Spell it out so people can book a class, book a session through you, because that's the purpose of this video. We want to talk about everything money here, from business credit to personal credit to how to invest, how to become debt free, because the average person don't know how to do that. They don't know how to save 10,000. I don't know how to save 10,000, so I might book a session. So let me fall back and let you take the floor and just mention about your website, and I got some more questions to ask.
Absolutely. So my business is Organized Chaos Finance. And my website is organized-kaos.com. And at Organized Chaos, you can find all my classes. I have free webinars on stock market basics, but I also offer group coaching, investing for beginners masterclass for a more in-depth training on how to get started in investing in the stock market, where to find money to invest, how to save and to invest. All that information is available on organized-kaos.com, as well as my book, Live Freely, Freedom to Work Whenever, Wherever. The paperback and ebook version is available on Amazon, and I do offer special edition autographed copies on my website. I also have books about fixing your credit, how to DIY fix your credit. Because I'm gonna go back to that question that you asked me about the $20,000 from Aaron, the $20,000, because let me give you a little fun fact, right? So I saved that money, and the purpose of me saving that money because I wanted to quit my job for an entire year. So I thought I needed a certain amount of money, not taking consideration that I had a low overhead. I didn't have any debt. So my expenses was extremely low. So my need for this amount of money wasn't necessarily there anymore. But I learned how to leverage credit. I learned how to play the credit game. So I learned how to use somebody else's money to make money. People think about credit in terms of, oh, let me get my credit right so I can go in debt. No, credit, there's so much power. There's so much you can do to leverage credit to create passive income. And like you said, a lot of us don't even realize or even know the power in that, because a lot of us, when we think about generational wealth and we think about money, a lot of us don't necessarily have assets to pass on, right? But you can pass on good credit and you can share that with your children, your children's children's children, even if you have nothing else, because credit is leverage. Credit will give you an opportunity to get into investing in real estate. If you want to invest in real estate, you need capital. Use somebody else's money, right? If you need to, buy time, like I essentially use credit to travel for practically free for a year. I haven't been home in a year. I've been traveling around. COVID kind of stirred things up a little bit, but I was on a 25 country world tour until COVID happened. But I was able to say, you know what, I don't want to work for a year, right? And leverage credit. I have a credit card with no interest for 20 months. So in 20 months, right, in that time period, I was able to write a book, create residual income, royalties. I was able to incorporate my business, right? And see, your business is an investment as well. Your business, your passions, that's a business as well. Just like investing in the stock market, you can start a business that then makes money for you. And then these things will then pay for the credit that I have, right? So I never even have to use anybody. I can use somebody else's money. And I never have more debt than I have money to cover the debt. So that's the leveraging, that's the power in credit beyond just buying you a liability, right? No, when you think about credit, you need to think about how to buy an asset. And then an asset then creates capital gain or just create money for you. Then you take that money from that asset, then you buy a liability, then you buy a luxury. We have to change the way we think about money and how we deal with money. So we work, and your time is valuable, right? You have to stop trading your time for money and creating ways to make your money work for you so you have more time to do what you love. But again, I do teach all these things and principles in my book, as well as my coaching classes and my one-on-one classes. Whatever your financial literacy needs are, I promise you I have them available on my website. How to save more, how to budget more, how to live more, how to make more. All those things are available on my website at organized-kaos.com.
Oh, you gave us an earful on that. That's beautiful. The question I have now is Organized Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
The classes are I be tuning in and looking at sometimes the classes and things like that. So my question is, how what made you want to travel and see the world? Is it the background of being a scientist? Because do you own your scientist business?
No, I contract. So I do consulting and I contract that's my trade. That's what I went to school for, right? So I do that on a contractual basis. So I basically take contracts throughout the country, and then I work in laboratories for a set amount of time. So that's a contract and consultant business. But the travel piece, what's so interesting growing up in Savannah? even as a young girl, I was like, there has to be more. I don't know what's out there, but I want to see more. I always wanted to travel the world, always want to see things. However, I was too afraid. I was too afraid to leave Savannah. I was too afraid to get on a plane. Like, I didn't get on a plane until I was like 28, 29 years old. I didn't leave Savannah or move away from Savannah until I was in my 30s. So it really was just one of those things that it was a dream of mine to see what was out there and explore. But fear was very crippling. And also having to work all the time, also not having time nor money to travel. I was like, I don't have time nor money to do those things. But again, financial freedom, once I became financially independent, I then had more time and more money to pursue the things that I want to pursue. Even though I was afraid to do it, I did it anyway. And I always tell people, do it scared. Courage is not that you don't have fear. It's the fact that you still do it anyway, independent of your fear. And it was the best decision that I could make in my life, because it was in world travel, just traveling, period, where I learned so much things, especially about investing. It was when I was living in California and traveling the world where I learned about, investing and how investing can work from like a real person that I can connect with. I learned about people who quit their job. My first solo trip to Dominica, I was on a plane with a guy. He was like, oh yeah, I quit my job and I'm just traveling. I'm like, is that a thing? Like, you can do that? Had no idea. I was on my little vacation. I was happy for my little 5 days. And once I became aware of those things, I was like, oh, it was just a matter of time before I was able to manifest those things in my life.
What field of science are you in? Because ever since we went to college together, I never knew. I knew you was in the health field. One of my better friends, she was in the respiratory therapist part, but I never knew what you took actually at Armstrong, because we actually went to college together as well. So talk about that, how science changed your life, because you are this scientist, and that's a beautiful thing. And I think you got more bikinis than you got clothes, the way you travel also. But it's a beautiful thing seeing how we went to high school together, went to college together, and then now you are blowing up and teaching classes. Yeah. And what is the reception of people are having now that they see that you're debt free? I know I'm asking a lot of questions at one time, but those are different questions that you definitely have. Is you started from here, and people always look at you and they see you. And what I always say is, because I'm where I am, I'm no longer the same person that if you knew the old me, then you probably won't know the new me. So we could talk about that as well.
Absolutely. So I am, by trade, I am a clinical laboratory scientist. So I do diagnostic laboratory testing, acute care testing in the acute care and ambulatory setting. So not necessarily a scientist in the sense of like research, because that's like long-term. I do immediate acute care. So for example, we're in a pandemic. I'm the one, if you go to your doctor and they're like, oh, I want to test you for COVID, I'm the one that do the COVID testing. I'm the one that when your doctor takes any body fluids from your body and want to confirm or rule out a diagnosis, I'm the one that actually run the test and tell them yay or nay. So I'm a generalist. So I work in all areas. Microbiology, virology, serology, hematology, clinical chemistry, toxicology. I work in all those areas, immunohematology. And so, but it's so crazy because working in this field, what's crazy? I was working 2 jobs, working at Candler Hospital, Candler St. Joseph, and working at the health department, and still living paycheck to paycheck. And so that's why I always tell people, it's not necessarily about what you do or how much money you make. So I know people, they assume, right, if you're doing the thing that you must have money, right? But you know me, I come from the projects, right? Garden Homes, Hitch Village, that's where I come from. And even though I had 2 jobs and I was making decent money, I still was living paycheck to paycheck, because it's not about how much you make, it's how much you keep. So I wasn't saving any money. I wasn't investing any money. I wasn't doing any of those things, right? But it was that experience working 40, 60 hours a week where I was like, oh, there has to be a better way. There has to be an opportunity for me to be able to make my money work for me. And I like to travel abroad, like travel outside the country. So the work that I do when I do work, because I don't always work. So when I do work, I take contract jobs and I travel throughout the country. But this opportunity is not available to me outside of the country. I can't work as a scientist because my accreditation and my license is national. So I can't do that outside the country. And so what I always tell people, you know, your 9 to 5 is great and you should definitely take advantage of that. But your hustle, your grind is in your 5 to 9, right? This is the time, this is the window where you have to create ways to make money and to make money work for you, right? Because even with my job, right, when I was working in the rat race, if I didn't figure out a way to have more than one stream of income, all it took was me getting sick. All it took was my daughter getting sick. All it took was a family member getting sick. All it took was me getting sick and not being able to go to work, because that's active income. I don't care how much money you make. If you can't work, if you have active income, if you have a job, like Robert Kiyosaki said, you just over broke, because soon as you can't work, you don't get paid. And you're like one paycheck away from being in the poorhouse. So for me, creating those multiple streams of income, and the things that I'm passionate about is travel, is money. And so that's what I included in my multiple streams of income. I do have the ability to work on the job, but you know, when you work a job, they want you to do what they want you to do when they want you to do it, right? And me, I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it, right? So I have multiple streams of income. I have what I do, my trade, then I have my book, then I have my stock portfolio, then I have my coaching business. So I have multiple streams. I have a .com, I have a t-shirt business. So I have multiple streams of income coming in to be able to live the life that I live. And the thing is, working as a scientist, again, if I don't work, I don't get paid.
That makes sense. So question, Aaron got another question. What platform do you use the most? Do you use Facebook the most? I know you got a YouTube channel, but I think it's blank. I haven't seen you post nothing on there. I subscribed to you a year ago. I ain't seen you post nothing in a long time. So he want to know what YouTube, what social media platform you use the most, and is that the platform that you teach on, the one that you use the most?
So it's so interesting, because when you say YouTube, I have so many videos on YouTube that's in the queue that I haven't edited. So YouTube, I learned a lot of it when it comes to editing, but the most used platform I would say is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. These are the 3 platforms that I use, but I mostly, I do my lives, and I have a save to invest first million investment community, kind of like an investment club on Facebook. And that's, you know, facebook.com/Sapphire Starr with 2 R's. So and I also have a page for Organized Chaos. I have a business page for Organized Chaos as well. But the most used would be Facebook. And I just kind of cross promote on the other 3 platforms.
And where you get this name, Organized Chaos? I'm intrigued about that, because are you in chaos, or you just feel that you organize with the chaos? So I gotta ask about that name, because when I saw it pop up on your YouTube, everything is Organized Chaos. Mm-hmm. And I got another question about your book cover. We'll talk about that in the because I thought that was interesting of the book cover also.
Yes. So that's a great question. And I actually created Organized Chaos in college, right? And so again, I talk about being, you know, in my book, I talk about how I became a mother at 14 years old and how I've been working since I've been 14 years old. So Organized Chaos is oxymoronic, right? You have 2 words that are completely opposite, but they are together. They are one, right? And so you think about the law of thermodynamics. I'm a scientist. So you think about the law of thermodynamics, where energy is neither created or destroyed, it's transferred. So when it comes to energy, when it comes to air quote chaos, if you don't apply anything to matter, it becomes chaotic, right? But when you apply energy to it, potential energy to it, it then can create a beautiful thing. So from the outside looking in, Organized Chaos is essentially a thing. When you look at it, it seemingly seems out of control, right? But just with a little applied energy, just with a little effort, you can take chaos and you can make this beautiful thing just by applying knowledge or just by applying energy. So that was just my life. Because on the outside looking in, you know, with just raising a child, going to school, my car always broke down on 16, trying to get back and forth from college, get to work on Shabazz Seafood. It was so many things happening, but I had a plan. I had a vision for my life. And I didn't let my current circumstance, my current chaos dictate my future. All I had to do was just embrace it. And then all I had to do was take the pieces and the cards that I was given and make this beautiful masterpiece out of it. So it has become and transformed into my life. You're muted.
I love the way you put that together. Now, I got some chaos. Now, when I see you traveling, I'm always seeing you jumping off cliffs or hanging off rocks, jumping in the ocean, and I'm like, wow, you know what I'm saying? You're really living free. So that goes back to your book cover.
Yeah.
What made you want to take the book cover and hang from the tree, basically? I always saw the book cover. Matter of fact, if you saw the thumbnail, I made sure I put the book cover on there because I want you to sell a lot of books. That's the reason why we're conversing right now.
Thank
So
you.
let's talk about, you know, from jumping in the ocean, hanging up that one rock. I was like, I'm scared of heights. There's no way I'm gonna hang from that rock like you did. And and I'm gonna just let you speak your truth.
Absolutely. You know what's interesting, because I'm afraid of heights too, believe it or not. And everything in life is, I don't believe things just happen. I think things are, you should be very intentional with your life. And I think everything happens for a reason. And so again, back to courage. I don't let fear, or I don't let people's perception or opinion of me lock me in a box or stop me from doing something that I want to do. If I'm afraid of heights, but I want to see this amazing view, because I was in Brazil on that rock. If I want to see this amazing view of the ocean and the mountain ranges, I got to climb up to that rock, right? So it's like, I don't let fear stop me from doing the things that I want to do in life. And the crazy thing about the book cover, that I wrote the book and I didn't have a book cover in mind. So I wrote the book just with my story in mind. But I'm a free spirit. If you know me, you know I'm a free spirit. I'm just about living fully, because we only have one life to live, right? But that book cover wasn't necessarily created for the book. The picture was taken before I finished, or before I wrote my book. What happened was, I was living in Hawaii. Remember I told you I quit my job for a 25 country world tour. And so the world shut down. So the only place I can go was Hawaii. So I just quit and I moved to Hawaii. And so I was actually in the beach at Kona. And there was this little kid. He was about 11 or 12 years old. And he kept climbing this tree, climbing this tree, climbing this tree. And I was just like, God, it's something. It spoke to the little girl in me. The little girl, you know, we growing up, they tell us what, you know, you shouldn't do this because you're going to hurt yourself. You shouldn't run in the rain. All the things you shouldn't do, right? And so his actions, his behavior spoke to the little girl in me and said that if you want to do it, you know, and don't let, you know, anybody out here perception of you dictate if you're going to do it or not, if you want to do it. And so, but he made it look so easy. So I got up there, I climbed the tree, and I was hanging, I was getting ready to fall from the tree, and someone captured that picture, right? And so it was just the perfect picture of me living freely. I'm in Hawaii. I quit my job. I'm in Hawaii. I'm living freely. I'm working. I'm living whenever, wherever. So that was the whenever, just the middle of the day, because most people were working during the middle of the day. This was like on a Tuesday at like 1 p.m., right? So it was just the perfect caption, or just the perfect depiction of my story and my life. And I later then added the picture as the cover of my book.
So do you sell a lot of books because people really see you selling living free? That's the next, because it works. That book cover, we are talking about it now. In my mind, it definitely works as a perfect image of living free. You're a 43-year-old lady. Well, you weren't 43 at the time, and you hanging from a tree.
Yeah,
I'm 43. I probably won't hang from the tree, but I love the depiction of the of the background of the story.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, that cover wasn't necessarily made for the book, but afterwards I was like trying to figure out what the cover was going to be, going through my pictures online, and I was like, this is perfect. This is perfect. Just following a little kid climbing a tree, and I climbed that tree, and it's so liberating. It's so liberating. And that's what I want people. It's not only just something to capture your attention, but it's something that's like, wow, like it makes you very curious. Right. And I always tell people, it's like, I'm not just the CEO. Like, I'm not just the CEO of this company, this business. I'm actually a client. Like, I'm actually living this life currently, and I've been living this life for a long time. And the principles and strategies that I teach, it actually works. I'm not just selling you a book. I'm selling you a lifestyle. I'm selling you an opportunity to not only change your life, but change the life of those that are around you, your friends, your family, your community, so you can be able to not only live freely, but to be able to give freely.
Okay, so I got a comment. You might know the person, Buck Cooper, is asking
Buck, I remember Buck.
Oracle, but how much money is $1 million? I don't know how much money is $1 million, but it's something that I haven't obtained yet. But what journey would you go into to obtain that $1 million? Would you start off in the index funds? Was that the biggest turn of event when you started investing in index funds? Was that something that really took your life to a new height when you learned about what would you invest in EFTs or NFTs?
Yeah,
Was
ETFs. ETFs. No, that wasn't the biggest turn because I would say the biggest turn for me, or the biggest catalyst for me, because the stock market investing is just another tool, right? It's just a form of income. It's a way for my money to work for me, but I have multiple streams. But the biggest turning point for me, I think it was just to pay off that debt. So I was no longer paying someone else. I was able to pay myself and reducing my expenses, learning how to live below my means and save more than I'm actually spending. Because the reality is, you don't need a lot of money to live the life that you think you want to live. Trust me. Like, people think that, oh, you need $1 million, or these are just numbers, right? And again, if you have $1 million and you spend $1 million, you're still broke. You're a broke millionaire, right? So it doesn't really necessarily matter about that number. I could just throw any number out there, right? 20,000, 30,000, $1 billion. We can keep going on. We know a lot of people who have millions and millions of dollars, like celebrities and all those things, and they're broke, right? So that number is is relative. And, I also tell people, I'm like, you can literally get on a plane and change your net worth. Like, I'm living in Mexico right now, and my rent was like $350. So if you just create ways to reduce your expenses and increase your income, you can create residual income. But stock market investing is definitely a way for you to make your money work for you. And that's the key. But that's one way. So, and sadly enough, COVID was an opportunity to make money in the stock market, because essentially everything went on sale. Everything went on sale in a year's time. I got 100% return on my money in just a year, which is unheard of. But because I had the knowledge, because I was in position, because I understood how the market worked, because I didn't have any debt, because I had money saved, I was in position to take advantage of an opportunity that presented itself. So I always said, really, the most valuable thing that you can have is knowledge.
I think we're gonna have to talk a little bit more in a future video about credit, because I definitely want to do a video in the future about credit and how people are using credit to leverage their whole lifestyle. I was reading before, they said if you got a credit score of 800 or more, that's equivalent to like $100,000. And a lot of people don't know that side of credit, or they don't know the side of using obtaining business credit without using your personal credit. So these are things that people don't know about. So in a future video, I think we need to talk about that because it's a lot of information that we can start putting people out because you this is something that you said in the beginning because you did not know some of the things that you knew until you read a book.
Yep.
And that's the reason why I have my YouTube channel is because some people don't know about stocks and cryptocurrencies. So I go and do the research on my own, little scientist. You know, I'm a little scientist when I go do my research. And my motto on my channel is I see the news, I report the news. And just like you, the stock market and things like that is not my it's not my day job. The day job I do marketing.
Yeah.
So in marketing, I still have to do research. So it ties into everything on its own. So so what do you think about credit? I know you talked about it, but let's talk about doing synchronizing and doing a video about credit because for a lot of times credit is a mystery that people don't understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do talk about that in my book because that was the next pivotal or callus in my journey was to fix my credit because you can do so much with credit. Like I literally have been traveling for practically free. Like I went to Africa for free because of credit, right? Like you can flip credit, you can leverage credit, you can to do whatever you want. Like you said, if you want to start a business, and that's really the holy grail of having really good personal credit is business credit because you can then get increased lines of credit, you can get increased capital for you to be able to make as much money as you want, right? So, and I do have business credit as well. I have my DUNS number, I have my L, I have all those things, right? But there is a process, like you said, to be able to build your business credit, but that definitely starts with leveraging your personal credit. So there's so much power in leveraging credit. And the crazy thing is it doesn't cost you a lot of money to fix your credit per se. Now I do offer trade lines and I offer those things for my clients to help them position themselves to get their credit where they need to be. But it's all about knowledge and it's all about creating habits for success, right? Like you said, those 5 components when it comes to having good credit, you know, I'm not gonna break them down now, but those are 5 components. Once you learn the game, you're unstoppable. You're literally unstoppable. You're unstoppable.
Because the opposite of having good credit is called bondage. Because if you don't have good credit and you are basically um, pawning everything just to obtain a certain amount of cash flow, or you are getting a car with a 30% interest rate, it's like you're never going to escape that bondage. So that's another reason why credit is a good thing, and that's why a lot of times rich people stay rich is because they don't use their own money. They don't use the money they got in the bank. They always want somebody to fund them. They always say if somebody cut the check because they want to live off somebody else. So I know we jumped around in this video a lot because there's so much to discuss when it talks about money. Money is something that's a mystery to a lot of people, but they will go out there and buy $400 or $200 pair of shoes, but they won't put $200 in, for example, Cardona, Bitcoin, Safe Moon. I don't know which cryptocurrencies you like the most, but you could take $200 right now and put it in Safe Moon and leave it there in probably a couple of years and be a thousandaire. So it's definitely something that we definitely got to keep discussing on this channel. Credit, business credit. One more time, go ahead and plug your website, plug your how they can access your classes. Tell them what days you go live on your classes, because that's the purpose of this channel. That's the purpose why I brought you on. Yes, we want to have a conversation, but we still want to talk about you. because this is all about you. This is your show. Living freely. I'm not living freely yet, but this is something where I set back a fire and I saw you doing your thing. So I inboxed you. I said, you know what? I'm doing this YouTube thing, and I've been doing it for some time, and I want to talk about money and I want to talk about credit. So let me bring you on. And the premise was to talk about some of your backstory so people understand that it wasn't always a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
But now when people see you jumping in the ocean or wearing a bikini, people judge all the time. But that's what people do. They judge because they don't understand.
I know,
But
yeah.
when a person is telling a story, you got to listen to the story that the person is telling. So one more time, let's go ahead and plug all of your information, and then we're going to synchronize a time that we can bring you back. And in that video, we can possibly bring other people on, and we can discuss cryptocurrencies and stock. And in another video, we possibly could talk about credit. And then I got to figure out why I got to keep unplugging my microphone. So we'll talk about that at another time. So I'm going to let you plug your information.
Absolutely. And just thank you for creating a space and creating a platform where we can continue the conversation, right? We can continue learning and educating those that we come in contact with and those that we influence and that we have the ability to empower. And so Organized Chaos, that is my company. And you can find me at www.organized-chaos.com, where I have all my coaching plans. I have free information available on my website, as well as paid information available for you to just not just, you know, for us to, with increased financial literacy, for us to go from just, you know, surviving to actually thriving. And I do my Investing for Beginners masterclass every Wednesday and every Saturday. I do offer private coaching sessions as well if you want to learn more about investing your money and making your money work for you. I also have my Facebook page. If you just go to facebook.com/Sapphire Starr with 2 R's, I do live free lives and training where I talk about credit, how to fix your credit, where I talk about how to invest your money, how to make your money work for you, how to, you know, get you a .com and increase and create multiple streams of income, as well as a First Million club and community on Facebook as well that you can find.
Sapphire, are you still there? Hello, hello. I think the screen froze on her. She's right now in Mexico, but she was plugging her channel and telling everybody how to find her. It's definitely a time that we will bring her back on the platform if it unfreezes, and of course we'll keep conversing. But this has been a terrific broadcast. So we're going to give it a couple of more minutes just to see if her screen, because they had a storm, she told me, in Mexico, and maybe it messed up her internet access. But this has definitely been a great broadcast for everybody who tuned in. I would like to thank you again, Aaron, for your super chat. And we will be going live on this channel. As a matter of fact, Aaron and I will synchronize a time. He's going to tell you more about his logistics business, how he started the business, and the process of what he did to get started. So when we go live again, that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be doing some more live videos on this channel, and we're going to keep things going strong. So once again, this is Antonio with Team Tiggio. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as we'll be coming to you with more videos just like this. And once again, we will see you next time.